parents choosing not to immunize are relying on the fact that the diseases have already been eradicated. If the number of parents choosing not to immunize increased, there would be a similar increase in the risk of the disease return. This is a powerful point as well, supporting evidence for argument in favor of immunization with examples. Immunization is not an issue like seatbelts, which affects only the individual. A decision not to immunize will have widespread repercussions for the whole of society. And for this reason, I do not believe that individuals have the right to stand aside. In my opinion, immunization should be obligatory. So he has restated the thing up here. Of course, here he has posed the question, okay, do they have the right? No, they do not. It should be obligatory. So he has restated the question and then said the answer. Or just mentioned the answer to the question posed above. Okay, so this is an insanely good point. I have never seen such good writing. Absolutely. So, this is why immunizing children is very important. I've been 100%. Let's take a look at another paragraph. Hopefully, I will not make it. I will on our own, get a new sheet of paper and write down all your ideas. Then plan your key ideas. Let's do that in 10 minutes, so that we leave time to write down the essay itself in another 10 minutes. As children, we have a natural ability and motivation to take up new interests, such as languages, sports, and musical instruments, which as adults we seem to lose. Are there too many social pressures on adults, or are there other reasons for the apparent decline in human beings' capacity to learn? Again, as children, we have a natural ability and motivation to take up new interests, which as adults we seem to lose. Are there too many social pressures on adults, or are there other reasons for the apparent decline in human beings' capacity to learn? So, the main idea here is human beings learn less the older they are. This point cannot be disputed. The main point here is are there too many social pressures on adults, or are there other reasons? So, the main point here is, are social pressures to blame? So, should we blame social pressure for the reason, or as the reason why human beings learn less? It's a very difficult point. So, we have to list all of our ideas first. I'm just going to list all of this. And then, of course, we do here bubble points. First, social pressures and other ideas. First one here is social pressures. Okay, are social pressures a reason, or are other reasons the reason? Why do people learn less the older they become? Okay, so first, social pressures. What are the points for social pressures? Which social pressures reduce our ability to learn? Maybe our jobs. Okay? Make us learn jobs here, make us have little time. Maybe. Of course, there's a point to counter this. Older people on tension learn less. So some people say that since we have little time, because of our jobs, we tend to learn less as we grow older. Okay, as we grow older, we become busier, so we have less time. Okay, maybe this is the point. But someone can say that older people on pension learn less. So this point, I'm just going to color it in red to say that this is a deduction, or not a deduction, it deducts, it reduces from the social pressures point. So let's think another one. Have another topic. So how about draw another one here and say stress. Okay? Maybe family issues. Okay? What else? Social pressures. What types of social pressures are there? Maybe going to school or going to a course is embarrassing. Okay? So whenever you go to a course and tell other people that you are doing so, they comment by saying, how are you still learning? How are you still learning at this age? I mean, you have learned everything that needs to be learned, and then you don't need courses and so on. So this is a bit, shall we say, embarrassing, which is absolutely wrong. But I'm just listening. What are the other reasons? But before we go, what else? Now I'm running out of ideas. Really hope this was live course so that I can get some ideas from you. Anyway, let's see. Let's take a look here at other ideas. Social pressures. What are social pressures here? I'm going to course, you have stress at work, so you have, of course, we have to explain this. Okay, you have to say that stress at work means that you keep thinking about work even though you are in the course. Maybe. Okay? Family issues, you are What about the other reasons? Okay, I'm pretty sure you've met someone who is not stressed or doesn't have a job. Okay, someone like on pension. Okay, pensioners. Okay, so pensioners here learn less. So we take this point and just say here that pensioners learn less. Alright? What about other points here? Let's take a look. Are there too many social pressures on others, or are there other reasons for the decline? What about vanity? Okay? Some people say that vanity or the person's he's not willing to learn. Okay? No willingness to learn. No willingness to learn. So it's not social pressures. Okay? It's just too bored, too lazy. Actually, there are no social pressures to learn. Maybe to be the more correct expressions, or no social pressures to learn. Of course, as a child, if what you have to do, what your job, your entire life was, you must learn, you must study well, you must learn French, you must learn English, you must learn more German, okay? You must learn how to play the violin, how to play other instruments, you must learn how to swim. As a child, okay, there was a social pressure on you by your father or by your parents in general to learn. If you get this social pressure somehow, as an adult, you can start learning more, perhaps even more than if you learned as a child. No social pressures to learn, so you have to learn, so maybe no social pressures not to learn. Right? So maybe this is a very good point. What about other things like of course, we have 10 minutes, so I think we have taken about 10 minutes to plan for this. Okay? Of course, we have a number of points, but if you want, we have to, of course, based on these points, you can decide for yourself. Of course, at the beginning, I thought, no, it's not because of social pressures, it's because of other reasons. But then I'm more inclined towards social pressures because it has more points. So this is how you analyze your answer and find out what your real opinion is. You should not solve your opinion, okay, find your opinion. You should not stick to your opinion and justify it. Okay? No, you should find reasons, you should find ideas, and then think what your opinion really is. So let's think of other reasons here. We have to think as broadly as we can. So maybe we can have examples. Okay? I can speak German, which is why one of my friends, so I can speak German because I went to a German course. So one of my colleagues, or one of my course peers, colleagues, okay, was 37 and couldn't learn. Well, maybe one of my students, okay, was a 50-year-old, so a 50-year-old teacher, English teacher, for kids, and she couldn't learn well, maybe, right? So we are taking some examples. I'm pretty sure in your personal life, or you have heard stories about older people not being able to learn, or older people actually learn. So think one of them. So I have two examples here. The first example is one of my colleagues in the German course couldn't learn. He was 50 years old, and no matter how much he studied, he could not get good marks. But another student was a 50-year-old English teacher for children. She had an experience, or she had a 20-year experience. She had a 20-year experience in teaching children, but she could not speak English well. Why? Because for the 20 years, she didn't think to improve on her English herself. Okay? So maybe learning is a continuous process. Okay? And as an adult, okay, you forget what you learn because you stopped, okay, studying. Okay? So you forget what you know instead of learn, okay, because you stopped studying. When you resume, right, you start from scratch, which is why adult education is harder. This is a point that I have just discovered based on my experience. And I'm sure, since you actually, shall we say, I'm pretty sure that people who take this course are between 18 and 30 years old. Okay, perhaps even older, which means that it's very likely that you have had similar experiences on which you can base your answers. Okay, so of course I would have to rephrase this to be clearer, but I'm going to base my argument here and then join the other points, okay, and try to build a passage from here. First, let's just join, and I'm going to use blue lines here to join the arguments, right, in a cohesive way. How should we begin? Begin by just having, or by just explaining what social pressures are. So we can actually, or we can in fact, join these points together into a single paragraph. So you can say that social pressures are, since you have little time at work, so we begin with this, we have little time at work, all right? And even outside work, you have stress because you keep thinking about your job, okay? Even if you didn't think about your job, family issues will also be in your mind. And in the end, going to a course is embarrassing because you're an adult. So maybe this is how we should start our arguments, or our what people think. Now you can say, or I can say personally, that I'm an English teacher and I have seen that learning is a continuous process and so on, and I can actually disprove all of this. I can disprove all of this here and prove that it's wrong. All of this here can be proven wrong by using the example of the pensioners. Right? You can use the example of the pensioners to prove that all of this is wrong. Then you say that there is no willingness to learn. Okay? People are not willing to learn, particularly because of social pressure. And when you're not willing to learn, you forget what you have already learned as a child, right? So there's no willingness to learn because the social pressures to learn at childhood are gone, right? Learning is a continuous process, and when it stops, you forget what you have studied as a child, and this leads you to not be able to continue learning, even in other subjects. So here, and then I present my examples as the adults, or the educator here, who has been so used to teaching children very basic English that her advanced English was hurt. Okay? So this is how you try your best to base your argument. Of course, if I do this quietly without explaining everything I do, I will take about 10 or 12 minutes to do it. The writing should be an easy task. Okay? Remember that you need 40 minutes to write these. So spending 10, 15 minutes to plan, okay, it's not too much. It's never too much. Okay? Just make sure to spend less than then you will find out that if you plan, or if you take more time to plan, you will take less time to write, and you will write better. Okay, some people say, or some carpenters say, measure twice, right? Cut once. Okay, you should measure anything, or you should measure if you're going to cut out a piece of wood, right? You should measure it over and over again, so that when you cut it and make sure it's right from the first time. Same thing is in art. So here we have social pressure. Let's see what the man wrote. It is undoubtedly true that children are often well motivated to learn. Well motivated. However, does this motivation fade naturally as they develop, or does society put pressures on the individual that interfere with successful learning? It can generally be observed. So first, he has written an introduction, rephrasing the question here in his own words. Alright? Then, it can generally be observed. Here, it can generally be observed as a wonderful expression to say the general agreement. Okay? People learn, children are better at learning than adults. They will more readily take up a musical instrument, for example, than a parent, and are more likely to persist in math. So, they have given an example of musical instruments, right? And then he has written how the difference, or what the difference between children and adults are. Why is this so? It seems that while children have the determination to practice, adults are less patient. They're less patient. So this is a very good way to put patience. It's just that we expect to pick things up far more quickly than is realistic. In addition, adults have more commitments than the young. Right? Have more commitments than the young. And so perhaps they lack the time to observe their studies. However, if it were true that it's only the pace of life that inhibits our learning capacity, that would imply that the busier we are, the less likely we will be to take up new interests. In my experience, this is the general case. To sum up, enthusiasm for learning new things seems to be dependent on the individual observers. Depends on the individual rather on their lifestyle. In fact, it's common to find people who lead active lives or have demanding jobs taking up hobbies or other activities as well. Right? I'm not sure how many lines this passage is, but you will see that it's more or less 150 something. Okay? Of course, this is not as good as the first one, to be honest. Okay? But nevertheless, it will also get a good mark because it mentioned its opinion clearly. It had an introduction and conclusion, and in the end, it had these points and the conclusion. First, it had an introduction that rephrased the question given. Then it had this point, right, an example of observation, whether people learn, or the observation, اللحظة, that children learn better than adults. And then saying that some people say that it seems that people have a determination to practice. Okay? Children have a determination to practice, and so on, so on, so on. But then it says that it's not true because the busier they are, or the people who are very busy take up many tasks. Then, of course, give it in the conclusion that answers the question, the instruction. Okay? Now, okay, so the enthusiasm for learning new things. Now, here, to be honest, this is the conclusion for the enthusiasm for learning new things seems to be dependent on the individual concern. Here, right? And okay. Now remember that, or actually, to be more exact, someone's enthusiasm for learning new things seems to be dependent on the individual concern rather than on their lifestyle. Okay? It's common to find people active lives, have learning jobs, taking up hobbies or other activities. You need to write a conclusion for the entire text. This conclusion, or this expression here, mentions or explains the paragraph before. Okay? I just got confused because he used to sum up here. Right? So we have to write a conclusion. So what's a good conclusion? Let's take a look at the points, and it's our job to mention them in the conclusion, in summary, to summarize, right? And to mention actually not our opinion, but the opinion written during the text in the conclusion. So first, write a conclusion. We summarize the ideas in the text, right? Then we answer the question by mentioning our opinion. Okay. So let's first mark the ideas. It's observed that children are better than at learning their adults, and so on. Okay. Why is this so? Our parents are so it seems that while children have determination to practice, adults are less patient. Adults are less patient. This is one point. It suggests that we expect to pick things up far more quickly than is realistic. In addition, adults have more commitments than they are, so perhaps they lack time. So they have less patient, less time. Okay? Maybe they're less patient. Maybe they have less time. They have less time. They lack the time. They have less patience. But in fact, the busier people are seen taking up hobbies. Okay? And this is because they are enthusiastic for learning new things. Right? So it's dependent on the individual concerned rather than their lifestyle. Right? So we need to rephrase this expression here. It depends on the individual rather than their lifestyle. And it's called willingness to learn. Willingness to learn, maybe. Okay? So maybe we can mention willingness to learn, right? So to summarize, right? Even though many adults lack the ability to learn or not learn, to pick up instead of learn new skills, even though many adults lack the ability to pick up new skills. Even though many adults lack the ability to pick up new skills, the ability to pick up new things that children have, okay, this is attributed more to the adult's willingness to learn rather, than the social, rather than social pressures, or rather than the social used, rather than social pressures or commitments rather than social the social surroundings. Okay?